Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hope you're all doing great and welcome aboard to another video lesson. This is your video lesson number 4 and its second part. In the first part, I revised the consonant sounds with you, and this is part 2 because it's lesson 4 and its second part for grade 8 and the subject is English. So today we're going to, like last week, we gave you a model reading audio for the lesson New World. You have done its vocabulary, you have heard its audio, and I requested all of you to read it once for yourself. And I hope most of you must have done, all of you rather. So today we are going to do its in-depth reading and its comprehension. So it's very important for you to understand the details of the lesson so that it's easier for you to not just understand it but answer all the questions that are in the follow-up exercises. So we'll start the lesson and its description and all that stuff. But before that, before reading actually, let me just ask you, what are virtual reality games? You have been playing the video games. You must be playing video games on your phones, not just these days, but usually. So, what makes a video game different from a virtual reality game? Have you ever visited Fun City or some other place where you are kind of sitting on a heavy bike and you're driving it? So, virtual reality games are where you are given a special equipment to wear and you feel as if you experience the things that are happening on screen in real. Just like, as you can see this picture that I've put on. Here you can see a boy who is sitting on his sofa, but in the game or in virtual reality game, what he's experiencing is that he's right in front of an octopus and maybe he's trying to attack it. So this happens in the virtual reality, and nowadays it's getting more and more common because you find it in places, in outdoor places where you go and you experience the games live. So in virtual reality games, there is a gear that you have to wear, the virtual reality gear. As you can see in this picture, there is this man who is sitting, and this is the gear. By gear, I mean the equipment. And as you can see, this man is driving. And while driving, because of the goggles that he's wearing, these are the goggles, on his eyes. The goggles that he's wearing, he can literally feel that he is actually driving a car or a heavy bike or whatever he's driving. So this is very important for you to understand what virtual reality game is, so that once you have this in your mind, it will become easier for you to understand. So the virtual reality games are very much in trend these days. So have you played any virtual reality game yourself, or you know about it? Okay, that's great. So, the pros and cons of virtual reality games. I have to talk about it because it seems very fascinating and exciting to experience a virtual reality game, but it does have its own implications. It does have its own positive and negative effects on a person. Any game, any video game that you play has some positive and negative aspects to it, but playing a virtual reality game usually becomes very addictive for people. People cannot just stop playing it. They want to play it more and more, which has certain harmful impacts on you. Sometimes they make you violent, sometimes they make you angry, sometimes they make you even depressed. So there has to be a balance in what we do. So this is the first page of your lesson, New World. Basically, the first thing you have to understand is that what is this story? Why, it's not the full story. It's an extract, and by extract means a part of the story is being shared with you. And here, if you see the introduction part, I'm just going to talk about the introduction first. Here, the author has given us the setting. By setting means that where the story is set. Let me give you the background of the story. Here there are two main characters, Miriam and Stuart. Now, Miriam and Stuart are going to experience a virtual reality game. They have to kind of become the players in this game. When they are players in this game, it's a test they are running on. Like, it's a trial game. The designer has made it and he wants to try this game on people. So obviously it seems exciting, but at the same time it can be risky for the player, because it has its own, I mean, what if it's very depressive, what if it's very violent, so it can leave you really bad as well. So in the first part, that is the introduction, the author has given us the setting of the story. So with this setting we get the hints that what kind of a story it will be, what kind of experience will the characters have. And also, let me tell you that this story is highly symbolic. By symbolic, I mean to say that it has whatever it says, whatever the words that are written, they stand for something more, not just the superficial or the apparent meaning. They stand for something more than what is written. For instance, if you see the beginning part only, it starts by telling us that the setting is a tall grey stone wall. So the image comes of a very dark, bleak, sad, gloomy place. So when you are getting the impression that it is about something really dark, gloomy, and sad, clearly tells you it stands for, or it symbolizes that the story will have something mysterious, something sad, something ugly to it. Then again, you would see that how in a the ugliness of the place has been described by the author when she says that it's a grimly believable place, like a good cartoon. And then there is a dungeon, there is globs of green slime which is rolling down the walls, which gives a very bad image in your mind. I can imagine it, and it's a very spooky place for me. Then again, there is a tiny grating. This is the grating, if you can see. Now, even this grating is very symbolic, if you see. Why? Because, the ray of light is coming out of it, but we don't know if it is going to be something good out there. And it also tells us that the characters are stuck inside the darkness of the virtual reality game, and there is a lot of light and goodness in the real world, which they have left for the virtual reality game. So, in the introduction, we get to know that there are the place is super spooky and sad, and the setting is quite depressive. The first impression that this character gets is very creepy. So, according to the character, this place is quite creepy, weird, strange. So, this is the first impression of the character. Now, if you see the extract, it is basically, virtual reality is basically augmented reality. It is also called as augmented reality. So it unfolds the fears of the two main characters, Miriam and Stuart. All right. And the title is also very symbolic. I'm just pointing these things out. We'll discuss it in detail later on. The introduction, I have discussed the setting and the use of keywords like, the glob of slime and the tall grey stone walls and the dungeon and all that stuff. And then comes the rising action, where the images of the game start to appear. So she was standing in kind of a bit darkness. You can see it here. The picture clearly tells you that what kind of a place it is. And there is a skeleton too, which you can see, and it really gives a bad impression. So after this part, she just saw the skeleton and she was upset, and she asked herself, what is she supposed to do? She sees a door right in front of her, and she asks herself, what is she supposed to do? Is she supposed to open the door? So experimentally, she raised her right hand with the forefinger extended. It appeared in front of her face a split second later as a plain grey shape. You would see a lot of repetition of this plain grey shape, which is again symbolic, which also stands for that what the real humans are, how they are made, and how they appear in the virtual reality game, and what the reality actually is of the virtual game. So it has no lines or nails or knuckles, but it was pointing straight at the door. So a highly horrific figure for me, if I can imagine it. Spooky, mysterious. So she just raised her arm, and she realized that through her gestures, she can control her movements. So it worked. Immediately the door opened and it swimmed nearer. Now in from line 14 to 24, which is till this point. This one. What do we experience? What do we see? We get to know the game features which are explored, and we also see that the character observes that how she looks like in the game, a plain gray figure, right? And then there is this door which is swimming nearer, which is basically the image coming closer to her. And the way it's been shown is quite again spooky. And the main feature of a virtual reality game is that you feel that whatever is happening is actually happening to you, more like actually happening. So the real sensation we see that the character also experiences it when she says that the door's handle's solid shape was felt by her in this line. If you can see that, and under her fingers she felt its solid shape. So actually we get to know about the game features. Then from if you see the line 25 to line 40, that is till the end of this image, we get to see the entry of Stuart, the second major character. And we get to see that the suspense and the spookiness, it gets heightened here. Because once he enters, we get to know about his feelings, his features, his appearance. So we also get to know that when Mariam moves, the room, I mean the images and her movement are not aligned. By aligned, I mean that they're not happening together. For instance, when the character is moving, the are either moving before her or after her, which really causes a lot of dizziness if it happens in the real life. Imagine yourself feeling dizzy. How does it feel? Everything, is not aligned, is not moving according to you. That is what dizziness is. So same thing is happening to the character. We get to know that in the game, this is maybe a flaw or a drawback or a fault in the game, that the images are not moving along with the character. Now since Mariam is facing all that and she's experiencing, so she gets very nauseatic, she feels very upset with it. So the room, according to her, lurches. So Stuart enters and he sorry, Miriam was looking for the key, and she asks Stuart tells her that it's locked, the door is locked, what you're trying to open. So they're trying to find the key, and now we get to know about Stuart's character description. If you see these lines, these ones, here we get to know how Stuart looks like. He is seen as a featureless grey shape like the silhouette of a corpse. It raised one arm and came gliding over the floor towards her. So basically, again, the image that comes to your mind after reading this is not good. Comparing a character with the corpse is basically dead body. So it's a very ugly comparison to make. So when we get to know about Stuart's character description, and if you notice, the character is always called as it, not he or she, because again it's virtual, it's not the real character. So it had no mouth to open or close, but it spoke with Stuart's voice. So that's how she gets to know that it's Stuart. Now, after this event, after line 35, we get to hear another movement, a loud scrabbling noise here. What this noise is, where is it coming from, we don't know. Here the action is rising, it's going towards climax, and this is again showing the emotions of the two characters. Remember, these two characters have the hidden fears. Stuart has the phobia of spiders, whereas Miriam has it's a phobia to have nightmares, and the kind of game that she's playing is quite more like a nightmare if you see. So here they hear the loud scrabbling noise, and she asks, "What's the matter? What is it that's causing this noise?" So sinister movements are there. Someone else is spotted, a third character. By sinister movement I mean to say evil, something which is very mysterious. So let's see what happens afterwards. From line 41 to 58, there is rising action which goes on to climax. What do we get to know here? We again see that Miriam is feeling very nauseatic and her stomach is felt by her as like a seesaw. Have you seen a seesaw in the park? Look at the image that the author is trying to create in your mind. Just like a seesaw moves, this is the same way she felt her stomach moving, which indicates that she's feeling again very nauseatic. Why? Because the image is jerking in the room. Again, when she's moving, the images are not moving with her, so she's feeling maybe dizzy. So, what else do we get to know in these lines is the discovery of a mysterious character. That mysterious character, which was felt in the previous lines, is basically the rat, and the description of the rat is very, very important. If you see how the character of rat has been described, is very symbolic. I mean, a rat is a rat in real life, but when it comes to the virtual reality game, it has been kind of increased in value. How? Like with using the words like yellow fangs. It could have been two tooth. No, it is yellow fangs. Fangs are really Dracula sort of teeth, very horrific. Again, to increase the element of fear, to increase the anxiety. Then snarl, the word snarl. Snarl is always an emotion which is done in anger. So it has been done in anger, and it's usually typical of those animals which are very brave and angry and dominating. And then two again it's been told that in the dark there were two eyes in the dark which were shining, and the tips of those fangs were also shining. So just imagine what kind of a horrific figure comes to your mind. A very dangerous and mysterious sort of a rat. So Miriam and Stuart are equally anxious and scared now. So what they're trying to do is find the key to the door, but what they come across is a rat. So it's only the image of a rat is been said. By whom? Who says so? It's only the image of a rat, not the rat itself. They remind themselves. They remind themselves that it's just an image to not feel it that much because they are experiencing a lot of fear. But they are remembering that it's just an image, it's not the reality. We are playing a game to calm themselves down. So it is also a reminder for us that it's just the game, not the real life event. Okay. So come to the next page, and you can see here the lines that we're going to discuss first are lines 59 to 80. Here comes the climax of the story. By climax, I mean that here either they are going to, survive or die or something like that. So here you get to see that the movement of the rat has been described. They are quite scared. Now, description of rat's movement is also very symbolic. Why? Because the words like the rat darted forward, it was scuttling along. These are, I mean, it's not the simple way of saying that the rat was moving. Darted forward has a very sinister or a very mysterious feeling to it. Same is the case with scuttling along, in a suspicious manner, as if you are hunting somebody. So these are symbolic of fear, uncertainty, and mystery. So you have to remember these words, these are very important. When you have to describe the character of the rat or maybe something like that, they're going to help you a lot. So after that, the game graphics did not align with Miriam's movement. So basically, we're talking about the images of the game, which are in the technical term for it is graphics of the game. So the graphics of the game were not moving along with the character. So they are making Miriam feel very nauseatic and also very fearful. It's a nightmare for her. So her deepest fear has been taken out. So the final time she spun means she moved or she kind of moved on her foot. The images kept moving. Now it's becoming more horrible, more horrific, more like a nightmare coming true. So, and they kept moving in the opposite direction. Now, if she is moving clockwise, the images were moving anti clockwise. And when she stopped, the images kept on moving clockwise. So it was making her go out of her mind and losing all her balance and calm. So she was losing her control. totally. And the game, though it was very quite a weird game, I've just explained it and you can feel that what kind of a weird game it is. So it made Mariam and Stuart improve their relationships, because earlier they were not on good terms, but in the game they were working together, so they were behaving well. Now, finally, we come to the resolution of the story. And here we get to see that she, after feeling a lot of nausea, Stuart asks her that, "Are you all right?" This shows his concern for her in the game. So she gagged again. See? So here from line 81 to 92, which is the end of the story, we get to see the transition. Transition means a change from the virtual world where Mariam and Stuart are in, and from that world they come to the real world. How? She gagged again, jamming her hands hard up against her mouth. Why? Because she feels like throwing up and vomit. So Mariam could no longer control the dizziness and nausea. She even felt like choking. So towards the end, the character Hesketh, if you can just see it here. Now, who is Hesketh? We don't know, but he has just entered the story. So Hesketh comes to rescue her, kind of, or release Mariam of her gear, the equipment she was wearing, the goggles and the wristbands. So the helmet and everything has been removed. So the story ends at a note where the reader assumes that Mariam has thrown up or vomited, or maybe not vomited. We don't know. What was over? The game was over, or the control was over. So this indicates, or this shows, what a virtual reality game can do to a person, thus making the ending symbolic too. So at the end, it's also again very symbolic, because look what the virtual reality game did to them. They were like, Miriam was super excited at the thought of beginning, because this is all the part of this story, New World, the background of it. I'm telling you that in the beginning she was very excited that she will be experiencing a virtual reality game. She will be testing it, she'll be playing it on the test. But once she enters the game, she realizes that what a horrific game it is, and how the virtual reality game can make you make you come across your deepest fears. So the new world, what is the new world? This game. Why I was talking about the title, that it's very symbolic, that for Miriam and Stuart, this game was the new world for them, not the real world, but the new world they were exploring. So it left them. How did they feel after visiting this virtual reality new world? They felt nauseous, they felt scared, they felt angry, they felt disappointed. So this is what the story is all about. So, this was all the explanation and all the symbolism in the story. I hope it's very much clear to you now. So, we are going to have a quick recap of the story. Okay, so let's take the recap. Here we have it's a contemporary realistic story. By contemporary, I mean in the present world, the modern story, modern realistic story. So the characters are going to unfold their hidden fears in it, and then we get to know what their fears are: a fear of spiders and the nightmares. Then where they are playing a virtual reality game which is running a test. The setting of the story gives a hint to the uncertainty, ugliness and riskiness that follow through the symbolism in the story. And then the description is very explicit, like I told you, in the language. Darted forward, scuttling along, grey dungeon, globs of slime. All of this is very explicit. By explicit means it's very clear, you can imagine these things, so it gives us a real experience. So all the things we read are images of the game, but they appear real to Miriam and to us as well when we are reading it at some points. So let's see the summary of the story. In first, you have to see what the setting was. It's a virtual reality game that is dark, grey, and gloomy. Gloomy means sad. Then, what are the characters of the story? There are two main characters, Miriam and Stuart, whereas there are two minor characters, the rat and Hesketh, who is probably the designer of the game. Then there is rising action with the entry of Stuart in the game. A strange character also follows who is dangerous, mysterious, and clever, the rat. Then in climax, what happens when the rat scuttles around and the images spin around? Both the characters become anxious, unsure, and want to run out of it. Run out of what? The virtual reality game they are playing. And then in the resolution, what happens? How do they come out of it? They come out of it feeling nauseous and scared. So Miriam seems to throw up at the end, which indicates the effect of these virtual reality games. So now comes the time when you have to do your comprehension. And in comprehension, um, there are, I think, 14 or 15 questions. So I'll just give you an example of some questions. You have to do all the comprehension yourself because I've explained the lesson and it's very simple for you to do. The questions are very easy. I'll be just doing three questions in front of you. By doing, I means that the points I will discuss. I will not give you full-fledged answer how I'm going to write, because you should not be copying anyone's writing. You should be doing it yourself. Self-writing, self-expression is the best expression. So for instance, excuse me, it's question number 3, in which we have to explain the character of Stuart. How does he look like? So for me, I would points I will cater. He looked like a featureless shape, okay, like a silhouette of a corpse, which we discussed, no mouth to open and close. These 3 points must be part of the answer. But how I'm going to express that is up to me. I don't have to make it very long, I don't have to make it very short, but these points should be there. And let's see the next question. It's question number 10. The question in which it's been asked that what description of the rat makes it look menacing. By menacing, it means dangerous. What kind of a description was given to make the rat look dangerous? So the description that's been given in the book, in the story, is that the rat was sitting in the darkest corner, which makes him very dangerous. Then the yellow fangs emitting lights with its 2 points shining brightly, 2 points of the teeth. So it's my own words, like I've written it in my own words, but when I'm writing the full-fledged answer, I will even try to write it in even in a better way. Then, in the same manner, question number 12, where it's been asked that who do you think, it's my opinion now as a reader, who do you think enjoyed the game more, Miriam or Stuart? And then it's been asked that why. Give the reason for your answer. So, if you talk about me, I think that Stuart enjoyed the game more, because all through the time of the game, I felt that I saw that Miriam was totally either scared or felt nauseous, and she wanted to get out of it. Whereas I have seen in the story that once Stuart said that it's brilliant. What is brilliant? The game. He was hinting towards the game. So he laughed at the end as well, which, although it was a nervous one, but he laughed as well at the end, towards the end of the story, which indicates that he maybe was enjoying the story. So your task is now that you have to answer all the comprehension questions on your practice notebooks. I'll be sharing the answer key just like this one. I'll be sharing it next week. So you have one full week to answer these questions, write them down, jot them down, and then when I'll share the answer key next week, you will tell your answers. Right? So what is this now? This cloud has popped up. Has it got something to tell us? Oh, it's a tip for you. And what's the tip? Oh, yes, it's a reminder. Write in your own words to stand out and score better in exams as well. Okay, so that was all from my side. Now it's your diary or your to-do list time. And what you have to do, you have to attempt all the comprehension questions on practice notebooks. Then you have to revise phonics along with the consonant sounds that we have done today. And then the last task is that you have to learn the words meanings of New World that were given to you last week. So I wish you all the best. Keep calm and study hard. Wish you good luck. Take care of yourself. Remember to pray hard. Allah Hafiz.